Hi everyone, Dr. Rich here again with some health tips for you. I want to talk tonight about the winter crud. And the winter crud comes around late fall, early winter, and you see a lot of flus, you see a lot of colds, a lot of viruses that people tend to catch, and they can go down for a few days or a few weeks, just depending upon how strong your immune system is and what you happen to be taking. So I want to give you some natural tips today. So, if you're one of those people that you start to feel a little tickle in your throat and you have just a slight cough, and you know how we don't think anything of that. It's just a little tickle. I'm not too worried about it. But a lot of times that is how it actually starts. And before you know, you're coughing a little bit more. It's usually a dry cough to begin with. And then that's followed by some aches. You may actually develop a low-grade fever, maybe 99, 100, maybe not as high as 101, but it can get there sometimes. You have a headache. That's another thing that people tend to get a lot, is this nagging kind of low-grade headache in the back of your head. You may have some chills, especially if your temperature goes a little bit higher, but you tend to be lethargic, tired, really can't focus on things. And that's the crud. And that's when people usually will run to their doctor because after a few days they don't feel better. So they go to the doctor and typically they're giving some sort of antibiotic. And that's not something that I personally subscribe to. Antibiotics, there is a role in place for them, but I think the natural alternative works, at least for me, a lot better. I don't really want antibiotics interfering with my digestive system, which helps control and produce my immune system. So I really don't want to throw that out of whack too and have those issues on top of the crud and just prolong it. So what do you do if you have one? If you come across the cruds and you're just feeling pretty lousy? Well, I'm going to give you several things that you can take. The first one is golden milk. And you probably have heard of that. That's turmeric. And what you do is you get a saucepan and you put a cup and a half or so of milk in there, and that can be a nut milk if you don't do cow's milk or want to stay away from the dairy. You can use rice milk, almond milk, what have you. Put about a cup and a half of that in the saucepan, and you want to add about a half teaspoon of turmeric in there. Half teaspoon of turmeric. You want to put a pinch of black pepper, a pinch of cinnamon, about a quarter teaspoon of ghee. Ghee in there is really going to help get this down into the tissue system so it can do a lot of good things for you. And once you get all that together in the saucepan, you want to bring it up to a simmer and just let it simmer for 2-3 minutes or so. Pour it into a cup, and then once that is done, once it's cool enough to drink, you can start drinking it. And you should have 2 to 4 cups of that per day. And even when you feel better, temperature is broken, and you're on the road to recovery, continue to take that for at least 3 to 4 days after you're feeling absolutely fine. So the first thing is golden milk. The second thing you want to do is go to the store and get yourself some Tulsi, Tulsi. Tulsi. Tulsi is a plant. You probably have heard of Tulsi tea. It also goes by the name of holy basil. But I like to get the tablets because that way you can really zero in on a milligram dosage. And you should be taking about 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams of Tulsi each day. Okay? So that's the second thing you're going to take. The third thing you're going to do is you're going to sip hot water throughout the day as frequently as you can. You really need to sip hot water, get those channels open so you can drain those toxins out of your body and you can go to get to that place of recovery a lot quicker. You do not want to drink cold, ice cold type drinks, which will constrict those vessels and you won't be able to drain toxins as readily. Okay? So the hot water, sipping that all day as much as you can. The other thing that you can do, which I really like, is called the bronchial support. Bronchial support is a mixture of herbs in a liquid form that you can get from Banyan Botanicals. It's again, it's for enhancing the bronchial system and help really restoring that, bringing that back to balance. Um, and that's just going to really help speed your recovery up. So with that, you also want to eat as little as possible. You don't want your system really working extremely hard trying to digest food while it's trying to get well. So typically, if you have a fever, your body's going to be working pretty hard trying to combat what's going on inside you. So you don't want to eat heavy. Don't eat big meals. Eat as light as you can. Maybe just some very light soup that you take in. But you don't want to be eating a meal and eating heavy, so your body has to spend about 60 to 70% digesting that food. Well, how much energy is left to get you well? Not a whole lot. So we want to give the body the best chance that it can to heal itself. So those are some great tips in case you get the winter crud. You can find me on my website, balancingmylife.com. And if you have any questions or any concerns or want to talk about this a little bit more, feel free to contact me. So let's all get healthy and make it through the winter, and let's fight off this winter crud. Thanks.